Passport Mommy with Michelle Jerson. Motherhood is both amazing and difficult at the same time. The Passport Mommy, Michelle Jerson, is here to share in your journey.
It's amazing. It really is, just watching them grow and see how much change and how much they learn just without the filters around them.
Joining you on your greatest adventure, here's Michelle Jerson, the Passport Mommy.
Welcome to the show. I'm Michelle Jerson, the Passport Mommy. I hope you are having a sane and healthy week. It has really been a whirlwind for all of us, especially if we have little kids or older kids who are now at home with us, because most of the schools around the country are shut down, and we're learning how to homeschool and entertain our children, all while balancing our workload if we're working from home. It definitely hasn't been easy. But also, there have been some benefits, right? You're a little closer with your family and doing more things together, which is nice. However, it doesn't take away from how scary the coronavirus pandemic is. And so for today, I have with me Kongzhen Jin. He is the head of health at Facebook, because Facebook is doing incredible things to really help get really good information out there to the public, because there's just so much out there online and people are getting scared for good reason, some justified, some not. So glad to have you with us today. I'll call you KX. I know that's your nickname. Thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having me, Michelle.
Tell me a little bit about your position at Facebook. And you've been at Facebook for 13 years in a number of roles.
Yeah, so been at the company for a while. Been in my current role as head of health for about a year and a half. And our team focuses on helping bring people and organizations closer together to improve health. So, for example, we have a blood donations tool that makes it easy for people to volunteer to be blood donors and then connect with their local blood banks. In the context of coronavirus, COVID-19, I've been working on that basically with a team across the company since late January.
Great. And so just recently, this past Wednesday, you launched something new on Facebook. Mark Zuckerberg provided an update on the Facebook response to COVID-19. He launched the Coronavirus Resources on Facebook, which is now a central hub for people to find information and resources from trusted health authorities. So tell me, how are you gathering this information?
That's right. So ever since we started working on this in January, our top priority has been to enable people to get credible information from trusted sources. So we've been working with the WHO, CDC, and state and local authorities on this. The Coronavirus Information Center is a central hub to find the latest information on COVID-19 resources from national and local health authorities, and also ways to get help or provide help to others in your community. It's available on the Facebook app. So if you open it up in Newsfeed, you should see a link to it. And if you do a search for coronavirus or a related term, that should show up there as well.
Okay, terrific. So let me ask you, how is Facebook ensuring that there is accurate information being disseminated?
Yeah, we've like our core approach is just making it easy for people to connect with the health authorities and make it easy for them to reach people on our platform. So we've been giving the WHO unlimited ads so that they can reach people with the right messages and steps that they should be taking to prevent the spread of coronavirus. And we've also been supporting a lot of organizations that have been using our existing things like Facebook pages. So I'm in San Mateo County, and so my county health department is posting regular updates following that. Internationally, the government of Singapore set up a helpline on WhatsApp where you can get daily updates from the government on what's going on. And we've heard from employees who work at Singapore as well as outside of that, that's been tremendously useful. The government said something like 10% of all people in Singapore have signed up.
Oh, that's terrific. And now talking about internationally, because obviously, you know, we're here in the U.S., but this is a global pandemic. It started in China. You have family in China, I understand. Can you speak about your personal connection and how that shaped your approach to Facebook's health work from the very beginning? Because this has been going on long before it just really hit its peak here in the U.S.
Yeah, that's right. So I was born in Wisconsin, and my parents are American citizens too, but a lot of my extended family is in China. And so it was quite scary for us and for them in January and early February when this was starting to be a major problem in China. Thankfully, they're all doing well. And I don't think things are completely back to normal, but they're certainly trending in the right direction. So very, very thankful for that. More close to home. My parents are older, right? And so they're in the at-risk segment. So they've been following the advice of the health authorities, and for the last week or so have been isolated. So they live down the street, but I can't really be in person with them. So I've been trying to step up my communication with them over the phone and over video. And my kids are video calling them every night. And I think that's been very helpful for us personally.
Yeah, absolutely. And you brought up a good point about the seniors. I talked to my father-in-law last night, and he recently lost his significant other. And he says, I can't go anywhere. There's nobody here. It's really lonely. And we also have to think, in addition to the physical health of the seniors and the older population, or those who are by themselves, is just the emotional health as well. And so that's why I think it's so important, obviously, to have platforms like Facebook where people can communicate so freely. I don't know what more than, this population would have done without Facebook if this happened years ago.
Yeah, no, it's, I think you're really right. Even though we're physically distancing, just from a personal perspective, it's really important we still stay connected over, whatever means are possible. And we also have heard, especially from people in some of the countries that were more affected earlier, that they rely on messaging, they rely on WhatsApp, they rely on Facebook and Instagram to stay connected with their friends and family. And so we've been working really hard to make sure that our services remain up and are reliable, given the increased demands we're seeing.
Right. Exactly, which is great. And we thank you for that. And so what is Facebook doing to prevent people also from taking advantage of the current climate? Because we've heard a lot of things about retailers or just individuals gouging people for products because they know that they're in high demand, or even more so than that, but just you hear about theft, all these different things that bring out the worst in people, right? When you have an incident, a pandemic like this.
Yeah, I mean, we're all in this together, and in a lot of ways, Facebook's a mirror on society, so you see the good and the bad. We're doing our best to reduce some of the bad behaviors. For example, we were seeing, I think a lot of online platforms were seeing people either like running ads that are scams for masks or doing things like that. And that's particularly challenging because masks need to be conserved for the healthcare workers. And so we updated our policies to essentially ban all advertising on masks on our platform, and we're working on trying to enforce that to the best of our ability. So that's one step. And then on the flip side, we also have just seen a tremendous amount of positive activity of people coming together to support each other. For example, in Vermont, a couple of mothers started a fundraiser on Facebook to support the janitors and the janitorial staff of the schools, some of the people who are going to be most disproportionately affected. And they were able to raise over, I think, $7,000 for that local community. And so we're also making sure, to the best of our ability, we're able to support those use cases as well.
Right, which is tremendous. And that is what I love. I love seeing people come together. Obviously, this is a very scary time, but to see those people bond, and even I have little ones and I see people posting all the time like, hey, check out my virtual class that I'm hosting, or check out my virtual Facebook Live music class or preschool class. And I think it's really nice that there is that platform to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. My kids are 2 and 4. They're meeting with their teachers over video chat. Like I said, they're calling their grandparents regularly. It's important.
Absolutely. So how is Facebook working with local governments to get the up-to-date information in terms of closures and everything else that is going on by state?
Yeah, a lot of the local governments are already using things like Facebook pages and posting regularly. So in the Coronavirus Information Center that I mentioned earlier, we'll feature that information. We also have a local alerts product that makes it easier for local governments to essentially get the most important information out to their constituents. And we're increasing the rate at which we onboard local governments to that product.
Terrific. And Facebook, I hear, is matching $20 million in donations to support COVID-19 relief efforts. Tell me quickly about that.
Yeah, that's right. So the WHO and UN Foundation have set up a fund to support global relief efforts, and Facebook is matching donations for the fundraiser on Facebook. And as I also mentioned, there's a lot of local efforts going on as well that I'd encourage people to support. And lastly, it's not just the direct health impacts here. A lot of businesses are deeply affected, and the people who work for them, obviously. And so we're also taking some steps on the Facebook side to support these people. We announced a $100 million grants for small business program earlier this week. And if businesses need some added support, they can go to facebook.com/grants4business to learn more about that program.
Perfect. Kongzin Jin, thank you so much for joining me today. Continued health and happiness to you and your family. And I really appreciate everything that Facebook is doing during this COVID-19 pandemic. I'm Michelle Jerson, the Passport Mommy. More coming up in a few.
Motherhood is a journey. Joining you on your greatest adventure, here's Michelle Jerson, the Passport Mommy.
So it seems like so much has happened in such a short period of time. I went last week from being at the gym, like I go every morning with my now 10-month-old, and talking to the owner, and it kind of looked a little emptier than normal, but I was like, oh, I don't know why. The virus really wasn't that prevalent. I'm in Connecticut. My good friend Marshall Stevenson is in Manhattan, and now both areas are seeing numbers of the coronavirus just increase and increase. And I know wherever you are in the country, you are also experiencing this, because I heard a report this morning that now all 50 states do have reports of the coronavirus and people testing positive. And now we are hunkered down. The schools in Connecticut are closed. Most daycares, at least the ones that my children go to, are closed. The parks are closed. Even your outdoor spaces, like the parks and walking trails, are closed. And I've been going to the stores very hastily, trying to stock up on as much as I can, because I don't want to keep going to the stores to expose myself and my children. And we're going through a very stressful time. So who better to have on the show with me today than my great friend and comic, Marshall Stevenson, who always provides some comic relief to the most stressful situations. But I know, Marshall, it must be very stressful for you guys as well. Thanks for joining me today.
Well, this is a lot of pressure, because you introduced me as somebody who can provide some humor here. And I thought this was the one show that I was going to be under no pressure to be funny. Otherwise, okay, we can be sad on this show. I'm so looking forward to the show this week, where we can just be serious and sad and talk about all the misfortune and horrors out there. And we don't have to be funny. And you turn around and say, well, here's your role. Cheers, be funny.
No, it's not your role. I completely understand. There is no need. I don't think anybody is feeling any pressure to perform at all. Plenty of people are home in their pajamas. But you know what? I think a lot of moms are, and dads too, are completely under different kinds of pressure. The pressure of now to work from home while taking care of their children, while making sure their children are entertained and homeschooled, and not just putting them in front of a TV all day. So I think there's lots of pressures. There's pressures for those that have their own businesses, like you, like me, who now may not be able to pull in the income that we used to because just of the situation, and people are just not working. People are working remotely. So there's so much going on. How are things in your household? What are things like in Manhattan right now?
Well, wait a minute. I'm not allowed to put the kid in front of the TV all day? What do you mean? Who's the plan for the next 45 days?
Mine's in front
terrible.
watching Daniel Tiger now.
Well, it's terrible because, New York City, we run the New York Beer and Brewery Tour, and we're shut down, and now people are starting to ask for refunds. So we write to them and say, if there's even a remote possibility that you'll be back, could you please take a gift certificate instead? Because we really rely on cash flow to pay monthly expenses and things like that.
Right.
So a few people are like, no, we want a refund. So I don't know. I'm trying to craft these really nasty, make you feel bad about yourself responses, and then give them their money anyway, but try to make them feel awful because, really running out of money. And it's tough when somebody wants their money back instead of a credit. Right. So I can say that if you're booked somewhere, the businesses, even if it's a large business, because they're trying to keep their employees in place, but for a small business, try to at least make some sort of promissory note that you'll visit them later, or buy a gift certificate, or if it's a hotel, you can book for next year, and then there can be a little bit of cash flow. Because the shutdown economy is pretty bad. I mean, and I'm also in the comedy world. I mean, nobody's going to comedy shows, so they're doing some virtual ones, and everything. It's terrible. It sucks. So you try to keep your humor. And your question about peace in the house, I used to have a balcony, and they closed the balconies this year to repair them for whatever. So that I cannot tell you. I mean, it seems like people are having more misfortune than not being able to get on their balcony. But
right.
Not having outdoor space within an apartment when you're used to it has been like a bummer. And, people are getting on each other's nerves. I think
absolutely.
A little bit, yeah.
Absolutely. So we have a minute left of this segment, but I want to talk to you so much more about that, about getting on each other's nerves, how you're doing with the family. But just to back up really quickly about taking a gift certificate, or even people who don't already have a booking with the New York Beer and Brewery Tour, airlines are being so flexible now that I feel like you may as well book an airline ticket now for a few months out, because I think they're fully refundable should you not be able to fly. So why not take that chance? Book it now, book it for the summer, book it for the fall, and get that certificate. And like you said, support your local small businesses. I'm Michelle Jerson, the Passport Mommy. I'm here with Marshall Stevenson. And as you could hear, also my son, Zach, my daughter, Eden, is watching Daniel Tiger. And this is how the show is going to be for the next few weeks as we as we deal with the coronavirus pandemic. More coming up in just a few. I'm Michelle Jerson, the Passport Mommy.
Passport Mommy with Michelle Jerson. Motherhood is a journey. Joining you on your greatest adventure, here's Michelle Jerson, the Passport Mommy.
Welcome back to the show. I'm Michelle Jerson, the Passport Mommy, and I'm here with my great friend and dad, comic, and owner of the New York Beer and Brewery Tour, Marshall Stevenson. Marshall, thanks for joining me today. We are going through such a different climate right now of, just everything with the coronavirus pandemic. I just can't believe how severe it's gotten, and the closures and how it's impacting children and families. As you know, last weekend was my 3-year-old daughter's birthday party, and she was looking forward to it for weeks and weeks. We kept talking about it and kept talking about all of her friends who were going to be there and family and everything we were going to do. And then 2 days before, we canceled it. And I had to try to explain why. And it was devastating. I was so heartbroken because I feel like at 3, it's kind of hard to explain how much are they really going to understand. So I know you also have a 3-year-old. What are you telling your daughter when it comes to why she's not going to school, why she's not seeing her friends or going on the subway anymore?
We are seeing some friends. You said the parks were closed around you. The parks not only are open around here, but the Governor Cuomo in New York has actually encouraged people to go to the parks. So with a lot of wiping and stuff, we are avoiding playgrounds, but taking the scooter and running around with some other kids who live in the building, we are doing. As far as what we're telling her, why she's not going to school, we're trying to be as honest. We're going with the honesty. We're saying, there's something going around. A lot of people are getting sick, so we're staying home so you don't get sick. You don't like getting sick. You were sick last month, right? That was lousy. You don't want to get sick, so we're not going to school so you won't get sick. Because she can relate to being sick, and it's not that scary. So because then if you do it that way, as far as we're thinking, I'm not giving anybody advice for claiming to have the right answers here, but if you do it that way, then you're not going to contradict yourself later because we're telling her the real story, you know?
And that's what I've been doing too. I've been also trying to explain it, and I've been talking about germs and that a lot of people have a virus now and we don't want to get sick. Pretty much the same things that you've said. So the rationale around here as to why they've closed all the parks is because they say the coronavirus stays on surfaces for, I believe, 48 hours. I forget, but like the half-life is pretty intense. And so they just really want to make sure. And they also say no play dates because you don't know where that child and their parents have been and who they've been exposed to. And then they're exposed to your child and you. And then that's how this thing continues. So they're basically promoting that social distancing to the extreme. Well, I shouldn't say the extreme. I see why they're doing it. But by the same token, my husband is still going into work every day, which aggravates me because he, as far as I'm concerned, is not a non-essential, is not an essential employee. And a lot of people in his office are working from home, but he is not.
I'm going to go out. I'm going to say something controversial then. I'm not so sure that, listen, I'm the guy who came on saying germs are good, expose the kids, stop watching so much.
Right.
So ignore everything I've said. If you've ever listened to me on this show before, disregard it all. But that said, we have not yet gotten to the point where we will not have a one-on-one play date in an open space park. I just think there is, these children are 3 years old that we have, and they're until we get the word from our health officials to not do that. And we got word, it was like yesterday, don't go to the playground anymore, because up until yesterday we were going to the playground. Up until 3 days ago we were going to restaurants but not sitting together, that kind of thing. So it's just scaling up. I'm not ready to say she should not see another child in person for the next month and a half. I'm not ready for that. Unless they tell me. We are just trying to listen. Now, all that said, I don't have all that much confidence in politicians at any level of government telling us the right thing to do because, well, I won't get political.
Right. No, but I completely agree with you. And it does. It's really upsetting to me that she doesn't have that daycare setting to see her friends, that she doesn't get to go outside and play. And even simple things like she just loves going to the grocery stores and just like a day-to-day basis. I'm trying to keep her as entertained as I can. We woke up yesterday. We had a dance party / exercise. Today we went outside for a few minutes, but she's like, I don't want to go outside. I don't want to, and I feel like it's a lot. It's a lot to keep them entertained and also to keep up with. Granted, in school, it's not like she's in elementary or middle school, but still she was learning things each week. And now I feel that I need to do those things at home to make sure that she continues to progress. But the biggest thing
I don't think that's necessary because a 3-year-old just needs to play. They don't need to read. They don't need to learn arithmetic. We're lucky in that respect because they just need to play. They need to explore. They do not need to be doing drills. This is my opinion. But
right.
By the way, we did do something that was nice, and that's FaceTiming friends.
Right. Oh,
she actually really liked doing that and stayed on the phone for a long time. And then asked if we could do it again the next day. So
yeah,
if you haven't thought of that, do it.
Yeah, we should FaceTime because we tried FaceTiming with one of her friends from school. And it was really funny. He wanted to FaceTime with her and he did. And then she got on the phone and she just looked at him and didn't say anything. But they FaceTimed. They always said that screen time, when it comes to FaceTiming, that's okay for young kids because they need to see their relatives and their friends and learn about them. So they always kind of gave the pass on the FaceTime.
If they're reading the New York Times on the phone, does that count as screen time? I always wondered these screen time things. Like when I stopped reading the paper, and the real hard paper, and I started reading on the phone. Was that screen time? I'm staring at a screen. All right, other topic, not getting political. Coronavirus. Let's have fun talking about coronavirus.
Well, see, so you did bring the comic relief in after all. You just
have
can't help
to.
Yourself. Yeah.
Oh, by the way, if you want to have a good time listening to coronavirus, and it's a little edgy, Norm Macdonald, Google it on YouTube, did a set all about coronavirus. I thought it was hilarious. Now, I say that with this word of warning. I saw it 3 days ago. By now, it might actually be dated and horrifying. But
okay.
Well, listen, if you don't have the stomach for un-PC stuff, don't watch it anyway. I happen to like that. By the way, so people are starting to do, we're talking about FaceTime. I'm starting to get invited to a lot of virtual stuff.
Yes.
So we were invited to a virtual party on Saturday. And then a lot of the comics are doing like virtual open mics. So let's see how boring and
I know. See,
ungratifying that is.
I know. On one hand, I feel like I can't even keep up with all the virtual stuff that's being thrown at me. I was like, I'm working at home and I have 2 kids to manage. I don't even have the time to organize the virtual stuff. But on the flip side, then you have to worry about, but it is still technically screen time. So like the other day, we did stream her music together class. They did a 20-minute Facebook Live post. So that I enjoyed. And I thought it was just enough time for her attention. And we sang a few songs and that was it. But I'm not sure how many virtual things I'm actually going to do. But it is nice that people are doing it. So I have to ask, Marshall, how are things at home? Are you and your wife on the same page when it comes to just the precautions that need to be taken? And are you driving each other crazy yet?
You know, there's a couple of things going on because I run a tour business. I don't have money coming in. So my wife is now paying for things, and that's not something that I like. Mm-hmm. There was a little testiness, nothing too bad. But there were a couple of times, and I have been the one we got a little conflict. Not really, but it was just like, I think that we should stock up on stuff like 40 days, freezer full. We ordered 5 pizzas. We froze the whole thing and that stuff. And my wife is just like, I'll go to the supermarket, get a mini can of peanut butter. And like, wait a minute, we have to stock up. And then she said, you're panicking, man. The way I look at it, because I always had a survival bag after 9/11 in New York. I mean, which is funny because I packed it. I packed it on 9/11. I gained like 35 pounds since then. So all the extra clothes I'll be the guy evacuating in clothing that's 4 sizes too small. Anyway,
at least you'll have it. And we should talk about that another time, because I don't have one of those. And what exactly should go into a survival?
Well, right. So we are coming from a different place where I believe that if you're prepping with food and medicine and a survival bag and all kinds of things, that then you don't have to worry. But people who are suspect of preppers think that they are the ones who are worrying. I'm not saying I'm a prepper. The way that they're worrying the most. I think if you prepare, then you can worry less. And she thinks because I'm preparing, I'm worrying more. And I say, no. None of the stuff I'm preparing for is going to happen, but it could. So let's prepare. So after some, what do you mean we should get some cash out of the ATMs? We have, but yeah, I mean, if we're holed up in a 2-bedroom apartment, the 3 of us for 45 days, we're going to fight. Yeah, it's not going to be existential threat, but we're going to fight.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, same here. We can't even agree. On the basics, like I express my opinion about, my husband going into work and being exposed, whatever. He doesn't see it that way. Fine. But
does he have an option? Because I might side with you on this one. What, he has the option to stay home, but he goes to work anyway?
Well, so basically there are some people, they've closed down where he works. He's on the executive team, but there's also a visitor center. So they've closed down the visitor center to the public. His executive team, some of the people are working from home because they said they have circumstances. Granted, one woman's pregnant, one guy is a little older. So there is a big team that is working from home. However, I've said to him, I feel that you, if you wanted to, could go in and tell them that either A, you've been exposed to somebody who has it, and in which case we actually may have been because we were at somebody's house on last Tuesday. And then the wife tells me that he's having all these flu-like symptoms. So I said, number one, you should be considerate of the people you work with. And then number two, if some people are working from home, why can't you? And he just won't speak up.
Oh, he won't speak up. Yeah, it's if they're telling us to disconnect or whatever the word is, which I keep forgetting, an oddly made up term, right? But this, what are we doing? We're disconnecting, socially displacing. I don't know what it is. If he has the option to stay home, he should stay home. I think that people clearly, the more we disconnect, the less the virus is going to spread. I think that if you don't agree with that you're not paying attention. So if he can effectively work from home, he should be fighting for it. I might side with you on that.
Yeah. So it's aggravating. And so it's, things like that. But yes, I will say, though, that we probably, and I'm sorry if I sound a little edgy right now, my son is pulling out all of my wires to pull down all of my radio setup right now. So, as far as stocking up, we are on similar pages with that because I'd say we do have lots of food right now. We have tons of food in the freezer. We have tons of food. We went to Trader Joe's yesterday and I stocked up for probably a month. Tons of water, excess medicine. So I think we're pretty good in that respect. That we can agree on. But we just don't know where this is going, which is what is the most nerve-wracking.
And it's important to connect on Facebook. By the way, I posted something on Facebook. It was amusing. I had jury duty this week.
Oh, I saw that.
It was canceled, and I was legitimately bummed. I'm like, I want something to do. What do you mean I can't go to jury duty? I want to go to jury duty.
Exactly. I know. It's crazy. I think people really, they just want to get out. We are humans. We are used to just going out and being around people and being social.
What would have happened if this all went down before we had internet? I'll tell you what, radio would be so big. Mm-hmm. We would have 1 billion listeners. That would be the only way that everybody would be able to connect.
I remember even when I used to host a talk show maybe 10 years ago, before all of this social media, when there was a storm, everybody was turning into the radio.
Now we actually have to provide entertaining content.
I just said turning into the radio as opposed to tuning in because I have two little creatures on my lap wanting to jump up at me and asking me what my headphones are and what this microphone is and pulling at the wires. And this is going to be the radio show for the next few weeks. So, Marshall, I really appreciate you joining me today.
No, your husband's going to come home from work and he's going to take them. That's what's going to happen in the next few weeks.
Yeah,
when
right.
We're all on mandatory lockdown.
Yeah, no, he will. If he stays home, he'll lock himself in his room and say he needs to work. I get no break.
Got it.
So, but anyway, stay healthy, stay sane, and I look forward to checking in with you next week.
Likewise, and if I can make a pitch, gift certificates, we're selling them. It would help us out. nybeertour.com.
New York Beer and Brewery Tour. It is an amazing tour. Absolutely. Book it for months from now. Get those gift certificates for you and your loved ones.
15% off. You'll see it.
Oh, that is a deal. Thank you so much, Marshall Stevenson. I'm Michelle Jerson. More coming up in a few.
Motherhood is a journey. Joining you on your greatest adventure, here's Michelle Jerson, the Passport Mommy.
So, I always love talking with small business owners on the program because I love hearing people's stories and I love to just hear the success that happens. And I'm so happy to have with me today John Gomez, Senior Vice President for Bank of America in the small business region. Hi, John. Thanks for joining me today.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Sure. So tell me a little bit about your recent findings of what you've been finding with small business owners, particularly Hispanic business owners.
Yes, I'm excited to be able to give you more information. What we found with Bank of America Business Advantage, Hispanic Business Owner Spotlight, is that Hispanic business owners maintain a positive business outlook for the year ahead. They're expressing greater confidence than their non-Hispanic business peers. And we did over 1,000 entrepreneurs across the country. That's what the survey was about. And what we found is that they expect their revenue to increase. Projections are at a 4-year high. Many are also planning to expand and hire in 2020, which is excited to see. So overall, their business forecast is strong. Hispanic entrepreneurs are also more bullish on the economy compared to their non-Hispanic peers. So it's really good to see their confidence overall.
Yeah, that is terrific. So are there any areas where they're particularly optimistic or maybe concerned about?
So I would say they're very optimistic about, they have 3 goals for the next decade. Number 1 is increase their revenue. Number 2 is increase their digital presence. And number 3 is expand into new markets. So those are the 3 main goals for them that it's going to help them increase overall revenue and continue to grow in the next decade.
Got it. And so revenue predictions have reached a 4-year high among Hispanic business owners, which is great. What is the driving force behind this optimism? Because it's so refreshing to hear.
Yes. So the current market environment is very supportive of small businesses with strong consumer confidence and healthy labor market, unemployment at its lowest in many years. So Hispanic entrepreneurs are taking advantage of this strong economy to grow and expand their businesses, which is a positive sign for the U.S. economy overall. So our survey found that key economic indicators like revenue projections, they're at a 4-year high. Plans to hire are very strong with Hispanic business owners.
Great. And what would you say? I know that my husband's trying to start a business and he is up all hours of the night. What issues are keeping today's business owners awake at night? What are they most concerned about?
So I would say what the study found is their top 3 obstacles. Number 1 for Hispanic business owners is lack of resources, lack of expertise in office management, and then challenges with access to capital. So I would say those are the 3 main obstacles that they continue to face, even though they're very optimistic about the upcoming year and the next decade.
Right. Okay. And those valid, obviously, concerns. So we talked about what people are most optimistic about. How would you say, what is the most motivational factor to get people to just continue investing in their businesses?
So I would say that the biggest, they're really, really confident about their economy, how it's a thriving business. They continue to grow. So that's really helping them, continue to expand, right? Hiring and seeing the growth and the future of the Hispanic business owners.
Great. And if anybody's interested in, say, starting a small business and they don't know where to begin, where should they start?
So I would say with Bank of America, we have over 4,000 financial centers where small business owners can come in. We have 2,500 small business bankers dedicated to helping them. So leverage the resources from Bank of America, also your local communities, your Chamber of Commerce. We also work with local CDFIs that can not only help them with access to capital, but also with resources, education, creating a business plan. So always leverage your local communities.
Perfect. Thank you so much, John. Where can people go for more information if they want to get involved with Bank of America and maybe seek some advice for their small business?
So bankofamerica.com is a great resource to start. We also launched our Business Advantage 360, a digital platform that also will help small business owners as well.
Great. John Gomez, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm Michelle Jerson, the Passport Mommy. Enjoy the rest of your day.